So Leanne and I are excited to share this topic because one of the things that really makes businesses grow successfully is effective marketing. You can have a great product, great service, great team, but if people don't know you exist, what are you going to be able to accomplish? So effective marketing is so key. And it's not just any kind of marketing, it's strategic marketing. So Leanne and I are looking forward to sharing this topic with all of you today. So we're going to be talking about how strategic marketing grows your business faster. And so some helpful tips that we've shared before. Please post your questions on the Q&A panel in Zoom. And we look forward to, throughout our webinar today, answering your questions. That's why we're here. We'd like to help as we can during our webinar. Field your questions. What practical requests do you have? What challenges perhaps in this area would you like to ask us about? And then please use the chat box for any other comments. And if you can set your chat box to all attendees and panelists, all of us will benefit from your thoughtful comments. So those are some helpful tips. And if you've been with us before, you know the team that will be sharing the webinar today. Myself, a chartered professional accountant in our firm, and Leanne Ballard, and a cloud accounting specialist in her firm. And both of us are involved in marketing aspects of our firm. So together, it's our goal to share with you some thoughtful advice based on our experience and the experience of other business owners that we work with, so that you can have a step up, you can have a springboard to grow your business faster with strategic marketing. So to introduce ourselves briefly, I'll start things off. Perhaps you've met me before, perhaps not. So I've been in public practice in the field of accounting for over 25 years, helping small business owners principally in a variety of industries with a variety of skill sets, helping them grow their business systematically over time. We have proven systems that help small business owners do that. So that's my perspective and the mission of our firm. We know that as a small business owner, no doubt joining us today, you're working very hard. And it's our desire to help you grow a business that's successful and more profitably. The end result being likely why you started your business in the first place. To have more time and money for yourselves and your families, to have a better quality of life. And so it's our mission to help you accomplish that goal that you have. And so if you haven't already done so, following today's webinar, we invite you to download our ebook. You can see it mentioned here. You'll receive a link at the end of the webinar when we send you our email following our webinar. There'll be another helpful link that you can click on to access this ebook, or you can go to our website at www.pankowich.com. You can see the name of the firm shown on the ebook picture. And please download that and start reading so that you can grow your business faster, more effectively. And over to you, Leanne. Would you like to share something about your background?
Sure. So I'll introduce our firm. We're Cloud Business Services. We are a firm of 3 women who are really focused on being a forward-thinking team and providing high-quality services for our clients. Our team consists of Tanya, who specializes in all of the high-end, year-end diagnostic reviews and problem solving. Sandra, who will be joining us to help us navigate through the questions on this webinar, who specializes in client services, accounts receivable, payroll, and HST. And then myself, my background and specialties is actually in client services, sales, and marketing, which is why this presentation is right down my my alley. So that's a little bit of an introduction into our team.
Yes, and congratulations, Leanne, that your firm won Global Firm of the Future not too long ago, a global award. So we're proud to have formed a strategic partnership, our firm with yours, providing our clients what we feel to be an ideal way of growing your business in a successful and thoughtful way. So that's a little bit about us. Why did we create this webinar series? Well, you may remember if you've been on these webinars before, we really feel that starting and growing a business is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. And really, to have a successful journey in a real literal journey, there's often three keys. There's knowing clearly where you want to go to, your destination, having a route to get there, a map, and often what is of great value is having someone as an experienced guide, someone who's traveled that path before. Perhaps someone who's helped others travel that path before to ensure that you're successful on that literal journey. And GPS at times help us today. These devices help us, they assist us to make sure that our time and efforts are spent in the right direction. And so it's similar with your business. If you're a small business owner on our webinar today, no doubt you started your business for a reason. So what's that destination? Where do you want to go with your business? What does it look like 3 to 5 years from now? Do you have that clear vision? And then if you do you have a route from where you are to where you want to go to? Have you got it mapped out, as it were? Well, we can help you with that. Leanne and I and the team strategic partnership approach can help you accomplish that, being this thoughtful guide. So today, as we mentioned, it's all about strategic marketing and how that can help you grow your business faster. So the three main points we're looking forward to covering today is, who is your ideal client and what do they want? Have you thought of that question before? Then how can you attract your ideal client? What's involved? What are the pieces? And once you've identified these pieces, how can you do it in an efficient way? How can you install systems? How can you implement procedures to grow your business fast with effective strategic marketing? And as we mentioned, we look forward to answering your business questions live. So please feel free to share them in the Q&A box. We look forward to Sandra sharing them with us in 3 different places throughout our webinar as we cover each of these 3 points individually. So let's begin. So if you're going to have a strategy, if you're going to be involved in strategic marketing, it really indicates thoughtfulness, doesn't it? It involves clarity, a clear objective. So who is your ideal client and what do they want? If you're going to try to attract business, you clearly want to identify who would you like to receive this business from the most to make your business more profitable, more efficient, more effective, more enjoyable. So how would you, if you're a small business owner, how would you start this journey and answer this question? Who is your ideal client and what do they want? So how do you identify your ideal client? How would you put together what is referred to as an avatar or a profile of your ideal customer? So on our slide, we have a few factors, suggestions for you as a small business owner to be thinking about. For example, does geography matter? Do you want to work with those who are very close to where you're located? Or will you work with customers virtually across the country? Are there some benefits? Are there some advantages for where this prospect is? What business are they in? When you think of your product and service, would it be helpful if clients were in a specific industry, a specific business? What about their size? Are you able to, with your manpower and resources, work with businesses of any size? Or is there an ideal size that would really be the most effective way for you to spend your time and your resources? Is it a small? Is it a one-man business owner? Is it a mid-sized business? Where is the sweet spot, as we call it? Where would you benefit the most? Perhaps how long they've been in business is important. Are you interested in working with businesses that have just started? Are those the ones that need your services the most? Or is it businesses that are a little more seasoned, a little bit more experienced, have been in business for 2 or 3 years? Where is your sweet spot as far as length of time the business has existed? And then, does the personality of the business owner matter to you? Are you going to be involved in providing advice, expertise, skills? Are you going to have regular conversations with your customer? Or is it simply purchasing a product and off the customer goes? What type of relationship do you have with your business, with customers? And what type of personalities would be ideal? Do you need those who are organized, those who are open-minded to new ideas? Or just what type of personality or attributes would be ideal for you? So these are some of the areas that we're introducing to you on our webinar today to be thinking about. And then we invite you to take a piece of paper and to start writing down what are the key characteristics or attributes of your ideal client. So that is the first part. Who is your ideal client and what do they want? Identifying who your ideal client is. And some reminders here to be thinking about your particular industry. What makes it unique when you think of the ideal prospect or customer that you want to attract? And we talked a little bit more about making life enjoyable with your business. So we're encouraging you as a small business owner to think about your why. When you think of why you're in business, what type of clients would you want to serve to fulfill that why, your reason for being in business? So the customers you attract should be connected to why you're in business in the first place. Who do you want to help? How do you want to assist your customers? And once you've done that, there's going to need to be a way to communicate that criteria somehow with someone who becomes aware of your business. So how are you then, when you connect with a prospect, a potential customer, what type of communication are you going to have with that prospect to be able to conclude that this person, yes, they are our ideal client? Will you have a questionnaire? Will you have some type of intake form? Will you have a phone conversation with a script of key questions that you would ask if you receive telephone inquiries? What system do you have in place so that you can be organized and efficient in that communication with someone who inquires about your services? So it's important to think carefully about what are these questions that you would ask a prospect. You don't want to overwhelm them with 100 questions, and perhaps one question is not enough. Would you like our services? So where is the happy medium? So that's something we can help you with. What are the key factors that you would like to receive information on from your prospect to be able to say, yes, this prospect meets our ideal client profile? So that's the first main step in being able to identify your ideal client. Now, as you notice, this question had a second part to it. Now, what do they want? And the two go together, don't they? Once you identify who your ideal client is, then if you want to successfully have a customer say yes, you clearly need to be able to know what they want. So how will you find out what they want? So it's good to imagine that ideal customer, visualize him or her, and ask yourself the question, what are their current challenges or frustrations? Clearly, your product or service is in the marketplace because it solves or meets the needs of your ideal client in some way. So what are their immediate wants? What are they looking for today? And then thinking a little bit more into the future, what do they want to achieve? What's their goal? What's their objective? Because when you know that, knowing what they want, then you can start to determine how does your product and service satisfy that want or meet that need. So imagine here, as shown in our slide, a business owner having all these decisions to make, challenges, targets to reach. How can you help this client? So it's important to think of what are their needs and wants, and how can your product or service solve that? So how might you do that? Well, you might ask your existing clients, what are their needs or wants? You're likely already an existing business. So how can you tap into your existing customer base to ask them, what are their current challenges? What product or services would they benefit from? You can also think of those in your industry. Perhaps there are associations or member groups that you can inquire what seems to be a key topic on the minds of those in that industry that meet the profile of your ideal client. And then you can ask others that have these prospects as customers already. Perhaps there are those that provide complementary services, and you'd like to attract the same customer base. You can ask these individuals in these complementary businesses, those who do not compete with you, but that ideally serve the same clients, what needs are they aware of that your business could complement their business? So these are all ways that you can find out what your ideal client needs and wants. So let's stop there for a moment, and we'd like to invite your questions on this particular aspect of strategic marketing. So do we have some questions that those who are attending would like the answers to, Sandra?
Yeah, our first question says, how many questions are ideal to have on your questionnaire?
That's an excellent question. It's very difficult to give an exact number because it might have to deal with the particular industry you're in. One factor may be how selective do you want to be from the general population of business owners? That would have a direct impact on how many questions you would want to have. So if you need to be very selective, if you want to be very niche oriented, then you would likely have more questions. As an example, you might want to have 3 to 5 as a starting point of questions to ask a prospect if you are interested in working with less than any and every potential customer. Hope that helps. Leanne, is there something you'd like to share with that?
Yeah, I just want to add in as well, depending on how you're delivering the questions, it may be that you have a phone conversation. It may be that you have a system that delivers the questions and you get them back. Often it helps to know how long it will actually take to fill them in. You could have quite an extensive questionnaire that still only takes about 5 minutes. And sometimes even relaying that to your potential client, that this will only take them 5 minutes, but the information is very useful to help you with whatever you're trying to achieve for them, can help with that. If you are trying to gather information from them, say on the phone, think about how you can gather it through open-ended questions, not necessarily yes or no, but as a way to get more of a general idea as to what they're looking for by asking those open-ended questions.
Very good.
Okay. So to go with that, would you say it's fair to maybe even have more than one questionnaire?
Yeah, I could say that our business does. And again, I try to let our clients know ahead of time the expectation, because it might feel like a lot or seem overwhelming. But when I explain to them that it will give us all the information we need to make sure we are helping them with exactly what they need from us, and it will take them less than 10 minutes in total, that usually, takes away any doubt they might have when they see a more lengthy questionnaire coming out.
Okay, and I think you kind of answered this question, Leanne, but maybe maybe you guys can dig a little deeper on this. But what type of questions should they be asking their clients?
So hopefully we shared some examples in our slide there. So basically you would be wanting to ask questions that would help you reach the conclusion, yes, that's the type of person I'd like to offer our product or service to. So, and it's very interesting that business owners in the very same industry may have different criteria. Maybe certain ones want to work with just in a certain geographical area or a certain size of business, or where they are. Perhaps it's startups. That's where they really help. So depending on what product or service you offer, you could have, as Leanne mentioned, there's different questionnaires you could have. And the same business industry owner may have different questionnaires because of their preference, their own personality, their style, who they want to work with, how much longer they want to be in business, how large they want to grow their business. All these factors are going to come into play as to how you select the prospect, and if that's someone that you want to work with. Leanne?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. The only thing I would say that might be in addition to that is, if there's a particular type of client you enjoy working with that sees a specific value in what you offer, if you can word a question or two around that value, and you can even do it as a rating, value this from 1 to 5. If they value something that you value quite highly as a 5, wonderful. They're likely going to match up with you personality wise. If they value something that you value quite highly, but they value it as a 1, you may decide at that point that this isn't going to be a good matchup because their values aren't in line with yours.
I've seen some questionnaires where they'll say, how important is this to you? And then different factors will be listed. And as Leanne mentioned, a rating scale, 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. And that helps you understand what they're really looking for in that particular product and often service.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions that we have for this section.
Okay, very good. As we mentioned at the start of our webinar, both Leanne and I are very much involved in spearheading the marketing that our own firms are involved in. And so I'm delighted to have Leanne on board today to share the next two sections of our webinar on the strategic marketing. So Leanne, we invite you to lead our discussion now.
Thank you so much, David. Okay. So we're moving into how you can attract your ideal clients. So it's all fine. You've got an idea of who and what they want. So how are we going to bring them in? Step 3 here says we're going to deliver what they want. So first we need to deliver that to where they are. So we need to know, where are they hanging out? And you can see the points here. What radio stations do they listen to? Do they read print material? What would they Google search? What social medias are they generally on? So once we know exactly who our ideal client is, we can start to hone in on these questions to decide where they would be hanging out, and therefore how we would target them in those locations. The next step to this is going to be clearly describing the pain point and how we're going to solve it. So now we know where they are. How are we going to capture their attention? So you want to think about, why should they do business with you? How is your business different or unique? And how would they describe their pain point and what they want? It all comes down to, what's in it for me? Your client is mainly concerned about what you're going to do for them, and that's the messaging you want to deliver. So you're going to explain to them what their pain point is and how you're going to solve it in an effective and concise way, so that we can attract them to come do business with you. I think we'll move into another set of questions here before I hop into some of the ways we market. Sandra?
Okay, so our question is, how deep should a business dig into attracting that ideal client?
So, sorry. David, did you have some thoughts on that one as to how deep? I guess it goes back to the number of questions and so forth.
Yes, so just following up on what Leanne has shared, it's important to decide what is sufficient to you to then know that they are your ideal client. Okay, so whether it's a number of questions, as Leanne mentions, or the amount of information you put in your messaging. One thing that Leanne and I are big believers in is, and as Leanne has mentioned already in her discussion, you want to make it all about them. So sometimes individuals talk about how long they've been in business, how great their team is, how skillful they are, how much experience they have. But ultimately, the customer or the prospect is interested in knowing, how are you going to help them? So you remember one of the questions that Leanne posed at the end of her comments there was, how would they describe their pain point? So you might have an expert's way of explaining what you do, but how would they express what they're looking for? So the key is to match your messaging in where they hang out to how they would describe their pain point. Again, making it all about them. And you'd want to share enough that you feel that that would be sufficient to motivate a prospect to want to learn more, to reach out to you, to read a little bit of your website, to download something that you offer for free off your website, to book a brief discovery call. What is it that's going to move the prospect to the next step on the journey? That would be what you would want to think about as far as what's enough in communicating with them. Leanne, anything further?
No, that covers it really well. Thank you, David.
Okay. And our next question here is, how much time would you suggest spending on less than ideal clients that might be wanting your services versus targeting ideal clients that might take longer to find?
That's a really good question. And I think it will vary from business to business, but I think depending on how detailed you can actually be on who is your ideal client, that would shorten the time. So if you can be so detailed that within the first 5 minutes, you can determine they are not your ideal client, I'd be willing to move on. It's amazing how the right client flows in when you recognize them right away, and you can give them the attention. And when you recognize that somebody is not going to fit that, then it's important to move on. And if you are in an industry where there are other professionals you can guide them to, for us as an example, I know immediately if someone's not using the same software that we specialize in, we're not actually the right fit for them. And they're not going to be an ideal client for us because we don't want to have someone forced into migrating to a whole new software system just to work with us. So if that's not already something they were considering doing, we're going to make sure we connect them with someone who's a really good fit right away, as opposed to making them go through the whole series of, process of quoting and everything else. If you have that level of detail, if you know that level of detail with your ideal client, they need to be this size or use this software or whatever the case might be, then very quickly, once you have those questions answered, you know whether or not you should be continuing on with the process. David, anything to add to that?
Yes, so you've covered it nicely. The one thing I would add is it all comes down to a business decision. Ideal clients, we're talking about A-grade clients, that fit exactly the sweet spot of your skill set and expertise. So are you willing to take on clients that aren't ideal fits? That's a business decision. What we're trying to share with you today is how to target your marketing so that you're marketing the client you would want the most. And it'll be a business individual decision as to whether you want to work with others that don't meet your ideal client profile. But we feel it's good to be focused on what your ideal client is and spend most of your time there. In the long run, your business will grow the way you would like it. You'll find your business is more enjoyable in the long run if you focus the majority of your time on your ideal client.
And just something that came to mind as you said that, David, when we speak about this and I talk about, we specialize in a certain software and that, one thing I want to point out is sometimes it's not about size of client or cost associated with that particular client. Our ideal client is more often than not the really small business owner without a huge budget. So it doesn't necessarily come down to, bigger and better. I hope I'm wording that right, but I just don't want people to think they can't have whatever it happens to be, whomever they happen to want to work with, whatever you enjoy the most. As David said, it's a business decision. So it's not about the biggest and the best. In some cases, you may not want to work with a really, really huge company because you're one person. So that could also come into play as well.
Very good.
Okay. And the last question that I have here is, how do you know where the ideal client is hanging out?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about like what radio station do they listen to, and you know, print materials and all of that good kind of, we'll call it traditional marketing. And then you got to ask the question, well, where am I going to spend my money? And the key here is the better you understand that ideal client, that avatar of that ideal client, even to the age demographic, if you can start to pinpoint where your ideal falls in, you know, age demographic, geographically, all of those details, you can start to pinpoint, well, then what radio station does that particular demographic listen to? And the radio stations have stats on those. What newspaper do they read? Or do they even read newspapers? Are they of the generation that consumes their news from Facebook? Or do they consume their news from Instagram? These are all, you know, very, very different forms of media that, depending on whom you're trying to reach, they may show up in different places. So again, the better you understand who that client is and what they actually look like, who they are as a person, the better you're going to be able to target your marketing.
And what I might add, those are excellent comments, Leanne, is if your product or service is for a specific industry, often there are industry associations, events, trade shows of some kind for those who have that interest. So you can often tap into that organization and find out, how are they reaching out to members? How are they reaching out to those who have those common interests? If it's not industry specific, your product or service, then often what works is to determine what social media is the most popular, as Leanne mentioned, for the demographic group that you're trying to attract. Is it millennials? Is it those in their 50s and 60s who are experienced and are looking towards the future? What type of demographic works in your ideal client profile, if there is a demographic that works? And then you can think of, as Leanne mentioned, each of these social media platforms and other ways of marketing will have statistics. Who typically is on this platform? Who typically does this type of searching? And then you'll know where to spend your strategic marketing time, effort, and sometimes some money.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we have for this section.
Thank you. All right, so continuing on, our next session is going to review the proven systems to grow your business fast. And we've compiled a top 10 ways to market your business. There's a quote that I always love going back to, and it says, 50% of my marketing is working for me. I just don't know which 50%. And marketing can feel like that. It can feel like I'm doing all these things and something's working, but I don't know what. So with these examples, my advice to you is, number one, find a way to measure. And number two, focus in on, we're going to talk about like focus in on 3, because what that's going to allow you to do is test something, see if it's providing the results you want. And if it's not, you can take one out and replace it with something else. So jumping into our top 10 ways to market, you've got what we'll call traditional advertising and pay-per-click ads. So traditional, we're talking radio, newspaper, yellow pages. Digital, we're looking at Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and we're going to dive into social media next month. So there's going to be a lot more details to come. Some of the benefits to digital versus traditional advertising is usually the cost. You can really make sure that the ads are working for you when you work in the digital world, and there's lots of great insights you can gain from it. So number 2, we've got direct mail. So now we're talking about flyers and print material. Definitely something that is a huge cost to put up front. And there are ways to navigate that and make sure that you're targeting exactly who you want to target. So something to consider when you're doing direct mail is, are you just going to mail to everyone, or are you going to find some way to target in postal codes or certain businesses? Number 3 is exhibitions, networking events, and trade shows. And of course, David mentioned this a little bit when he said, if you are looking at an industry specific client, you can go where they go. You can go where they're learning about their industry. That being said, networking has been proven over time to be valuable to businesses, and trade shows, you'll want to find one that is attracting your ideal client. So again, you're going to want to know who your ideal client is and whether or not they are attending those trade shows. Next up, we have list building. So if you're going to build an email list, there's lots of ways to invite people to sign up for your list on your website or even your Facebook page, and start to gather those emails so that you can reach out to them directly and stay in front of them. One thing I do talk about with marketing is that you need to reach a potential client typically about 12 times before they make a decision. So whether they see you on Facebook at a networking event, or even you're sending out emails into their inbox on a regular basis, those are all opportunities for you to cement your branding with them. And then list building feeds into email marketing so that you can continue to reach out to them. Content marketing. So building your own content, whether it be through Facebook, on your website, through a blog, videos on YouTube, it's a great opportunity to display your expertise and give people an idea of what working with you would be like. Social media, again, this is now, as opposed to just the digital ads, but those social media pages or sites that we've created all over the place, which ones are worth your time? There's so many out there now, and you want to make sure you're choosing the one that suits your business best. Speaking engagements, again, going back to being the expert in your field. So whether it's at a local event, such as, say, a Rotary breakfast, or whether that's at a larger conference, being able to present yourself as an expert in your field and engage your services as a speaker is a great way to show what you're able to do. Referrals. Referrals is a tried and true method, right? I mean, there's nothing better than an existing client sending someone your way because they were so satisfied with the work you did. And then joint ventures. Who else is targeting the same client as you? Not necessarily a direct competitor, but are there ways for you to combine services, create unique packaging? And depending on the industry, it might be as simple as, I do this and so does that. And the great benefit of working with us is we're already accustomed to working together. So you're not going to have any issues with, our two companies combining forces. Finding those partnerships can be invaluable to your business. So as I mentioned, now that you have 10 ways to market, the next step is to choose 3 methods. And you'll want to look at what's going to benefit you and your business the most. And then the next part to that is to systemize the process for each method. So how can you utilize software or apps to be present on whichever method you choose? Templates so that there's a consistent look to your marketing. Checklists so that you hit all the key places and don't forget a step. And then, of course, workflows just to keep that efficient. Step 3 is to implement each method and create a schedule. So how often are you going to post on the different social medias if that's one of your methods? How often do you need to renew the newspaper ad and change things up? Creating that schedule. And as I mentioned, part of that should be measuring after a period of time so that you know how effective it is. And this is where we can help. We have systems and processes that can help the small business owner with all of this. So, you know, it's something to definitely connect with us on. Do we have any more questions, Sandra?
We do. So the first question here is, how do you compare digital ads between Google and Facebook?
Yes, so digital, Google and Facebook definitely kind of hold right now the prime locations for digital ads. Right now, if you look at Google ads versus Facebook ads, if you were to compare price points, you're actually going to pay more per click on Google than on Facebook. Google is the top search engine. Facebook comes in at number 2. So it's not too far behind. And there is an inventory on each. So if, for example, you have on every search that you can do on Google, 4 ads show up at the top, there's a limited supply. At some point, Google maxes out on the number of searches being done and the number of ads they can show. So if you look at supply and demand right now, Google is ahead of Facebook in number of searches, number of ads, and cost per click. That being said, depending on where your audience is, you may decide that you want to go for one or the other based on audience. You may decide you want to go for one or the other based on cost. But the benefit with digital is lots and lots of analytics to help you make those decisions, and you can test market that quite efficiently.
Okay. And the next question that we have here is, how do you decide which 3 methods to pick?
Yeah, so I kind of talked a little bit about, you know, test, measure, and see where you're at. But part of it's going to be based on what we've already discussed. Where is your ideal client? What format is going to reach them the best? And then what format is going to suit you and your business the best? David, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that was a nice summary with those 3 points that you just mentioned. We really do suggest you only pick 3 to start with. Otherwise, you become so overwhelmed and you won't be able to do any of them effectively. So we really do agree that you implement one of them at a time, get it in place. And that's what Leanne mentioned is something we benefit from. Every month, we take a look at our analytics. We're able to see how many people viewed a particular blog or ad. We're able to see how many people then responded to that. What actions did they take? All of these analytics are available for you if you do digital marketing. And so, and a lot of these feedback systems are free. with the particular way that you're doing your advertising digitally. So take advantage of them. And if you're working with someone who's thoughtful in the marketing space, they can help you interpret those numbers. And as Leanne mentioned earlier, 50% of your marketing is working. You often just don't know what 50%. Well, those analytics can help you to become a little bit more aware of what areas are really working for you.
Okay. And our next question here, do you have stats on how much typical small businesses are spending on marketing as a ratio or percentage of revenue to help put costs into perspective?
Yes. So there's a couple of ways. So this is going to be a little bit different for every business. So there's no necessary like one answer, depending on what your business is doing and what you're trying to achieve. However, there are great planning softwares that your business advisor can help you with to determine what might be or what is, fairly standard within your industry. There's some great comparisons and benchmarks that can be looked into and determine how close to that are you and where do you want to be with your business. So that does come into a little bit more analyzing of the numbers to get specific answers. If you wanted, out of curiosity, to look into something in advance on your own, I would encourage you to take a quick peek at the CRA. They do have some benchmarking available on there, and they do collect data for businesses across Canada. What I would caution you about with that is take it with a grain of salt, because they consider anything from $30,000 revenue to $5 million within one category. And although it could be stated that a restaurant business is a restaurant business, whether they're $100,000 or $5 million, I would say there could be some variations that would be more specific to your business that your business advisor would want to help you work through. David, anything to add to that?
Yes, so it's important to know where you are in your journey. How important are additional customers to you right now? Are you just starting out? If you are, perhaps you're going to spend more of your funds marketing to try to gain traction to get your business established than if you're already an established business looking to have some growth to your existing revenue stream. Then it's important to know what skill set do you have? How much of the marketing activity can you take on, and how much will you need to outsource? That can also play a role as to finding out what's the ideal amount for you to spend in that particular marketing method.
Okay.
Perfect.
And I believe that's all the questions we have.
All right. Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
So we'll share some concluding thoughts with you. We hope that what we've shared today has made you enthusiastic about wanting to take your business to the next level. Hopefully what we shared with you today is helped you to see where you can start, how you can start growing your business successfully and faster with strategic marketing. Marketing, as Leanne and I will tell you, is so key to growing your business effectively. And so we've talked today about ideal clients, techniques, methods, systems. So what can you do with all of this information? What next steps can you take? Well, if you haven't already done so, as we mentioned earlier, please download our ebook. That ebook helps you to take the first key fundamental steps to start springboarding your business to growing it faster, effectively, without complicated marketing. We invite you to join our Facebook group. We invite you to book a free discovery call, 15 minutes. Tell us where you're at. what you're hoping to achieve, what your challenges are. And then when you connect with us, Leanne and I can determine how best to help you on your journey. And then, as Leanne mentioned, we invite you to be with us next month, because one of the most exciting parts of marketing is social media. As we know, that's the modern marketing that is really working for many business owners. So sometimes it's a bit mysterious, sometimes it sounds complicated, often not sure where to start. So we invite you to be with us next month. Leanne and I are already talking about the material to share. We're excited to be able to share this topic and you'll find some very effective ways, cost-effective ways to use social media strategies. So we invite you to be with us next month, and hopefully we'll hear from you with a free discovery call in the meantime. Any closing thoughts, Leanne?
Nope, I think that sums it up. Looking forward to next month. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you, Leanne, for joining me. And to all of you, Leanne and I thank you for being with us. And as our slide says, we sincerely do wish you every success in your business journey. We're here to help. That's why we offer these complimentary webinars. And we wish you all the best in your business journey. So have a great day and week, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye for now.